Hello, I am JR. I am the Assistant Director of Transition Services, and we are really excited about presenting this workshop. Uh, when we were brought the topic, we kind of met together and see which was the best way to bring this. So we kind of thought about doing it as a panelist. So we are in the next department. Which is our transition department. So we work with individuals the ages of 16 to 30. And like I said, we're gonna do it more of a panelist approach. So I did bring in my leaders of some of my programs. So some of the programs that you're going to be hearing is about Launch, Next Ed, and Bounce Forward. And I'm going to talk about which individual that's with me is going to be run that. They're actually going to introduce themselves because I think that's better and help to remember who they are. Like I said, we are the next department. So a lot of people want to know what is next. But next is where we focus in on that next step in your life. We really want to focus in on what the young adults goals are and what they want to work towards. If that is looking at post-secondary education, uh, employment, being more independent while they're living at home with their family, being independent where they want to move out on their own, uh, getting connected with their community, making connections, relationships, friendships, those relationships that go past just friendships, maybe romantical relationships. We want to focus in on whatever those goals are. Even hobbies. We want to look at those hobbies because we want to try to make that best life for them. What are the things that that young adult would want in their lives to have the best life that they possibly could have? Where they wake up and they're like, hey, you know what? Life feels good. Life's going pretty well. I'm happy with what's going on. Or say like, hey, you know what? These are the areas I need to improve in, and this is what I need to work on, or this is what else I would want to have in my life. That's what we focus in on. We want to know what is that next part of your life, and how do we help support you take that next step. We do work with that transition age, so that is 16 to 30. Our programs are going to range within that range, but we are known as the next department with the St. Louis ARC. So to get started, I'm going to lead off with Sarah Smith.
My name is Sarah Smith. I'm the coordinator of the launch program here at the St. Louis ARC. The launch program is designed for young adults 16 to 30 years of age that are really looking to take those next steps in life. Within the program, individuals have the opportunity to enhance their interpersonal skills, self-management skills, to achieve the goals in the areas of relationship building, continuing education, maybe finding a job or a different job, living independently, and connecting with their community. Launch is composed of 5 one-on-one coaching sessions, also known as individual sessions, as well as 5 group sessions per month. Within the group sessions, we offer a variety of different topics, such as money management and budgeting, social skills, friendship building and maintaining, managing your own household, or even getting more active within your parents' household, cooking, cleaning, and even boundaries. In the one-on-one individual coaching sessions, this is a time for you to really set goals for your future. In your individual sessions, you have the opportunity to reflect and monitor your progress of these set goals, review and navigate all kinds of resources that will help you with maintaining progress within your goals or building skill sets in various areas. You also have the opportunity to develop, practice, and review skills in areas such as time management, organization, and communication. Within the launch program, we often use the Charting the Life course tools, which really help us focus on what we want in our future, what we don't want in our future, really look at the different life domains and break down life into those domains to kind of figure out what we do and we do not want in those different life domains. Um, Support Star, as well as the goal attainment sheet. And then in the launch program, we also offer some bonus group sessions, such as the booths, which are social times that we hold virtually on Teams. This is a time for the young adults to connect with the others in the program. We'll talk about what's going on in life. We often play games from Jeopardy to GeoGuessr. And then we also do something called Teach Something, Learn Something, where the young adults in the program get the opportunity, have that opportunity to present information about any kind of topic that they feel that they want to share with the other young adults in the program.
We did have our first question come through. So before we move on, I'll kind of let you guys know we do have funding for each one of these programs that we're going to talk about. And one of the programs is actually free to register and attend. And we'll go over that at the end and how to connect with us to see if you are eligible for these programs. But because each program's a little bit different and we go over it. But we do have funding for launch if you are eligible for St. Louis County residents, St. Louis City residents, St. Charles, and Jefferson County residents. The big thing is being in that age range of 16 to 30 is going to be with that program, and then also having a diagnosis of intellectual developmental disability. At the end, we will have a QR code. I would say the easiest way is to scan that QR code, and that's going to look, it takes about 5 minutes to fill out the questionnaire, and that'll help you know if you are eligible for one of these programs. It feeds into the same system, so we could be able to tell right away, and then somebody would be connected with you to set up the following processes with that. David, and next is going to be David Roman.
Hello, everybody. My name is David Roman. I have been with the St. Louis Arc now for 5 years. I started as a transition advisor working in launch, went to employment, and then started as an assistant coordinator and now the coordinator of Next Ed. So Next Ed is a little bit different than what launch is, where launch has that individual component and things like that. Next Ed is entirely as a group. So it's a lot of focused on group learning. So we actually partnered with Washington University Occupational Therapy Program, and they helped us along with some social workers that were at the ARC and some educators, and we kind of came up with these 9 pillars of independent living. And so our sessions are kind of broken down into 3 of them each 10 weeks. So Next Ed is a program, again, 18 to 30. So it's a little bit different from Launch as that as well. And it's really kind of focused on that next step, living independently, whatever that looks like. So our 3 sessions are broken down into session 1 goes over self-determination, personal safety, and then tools of independence, or kind of tools and strategies to make and create routines. And we do this in an in-person classroom setting and everything like that. Our session 2 is going to be cooking nutrition, leisure wellness, and then also connection to community. And then session 3, we have managing living spaces, communication, and money management. So it is some overlap and everything like that with launch. But again, everything is going to be group lessons. So we meet Monday through Thursdays, 1 to 4 o'clock for 10 weeks at a time. And in these 10 weeks, we kind of dive in deeper to each one of those pillars for that session. So coming up, we have session 3 starting on Monday. So we're really going to be focused in on money management, managing living spaces, and communications, all for that entire 10 weeks. And how this is set up is we actually rent out an Airbnb, and then we have for about 4 of the weeks, and then the other 6 weeks, we are actually going to be at the St. Louis ARC office. Normally it's weeks 1, 5, and 10, but we get a bonus week at the Airbnb, so I'm excited for that. Um, and we're going to be talking, we bring in a lot of guest speakers and things like that as well to really give us that piece to learn more about the community. So we bring in MetroLink to kind of help us out with some of the transportation and things like that, as we know that can be an issue, especially with the transition age and young adults. We bring in Paul from the library. He is a librarian and everything like that. We've made a connection, and he always talks to us about different things that go on at the library and is a great resource for St. Louis County and St. Louis City. While we are kind of another component that we do have of Next Ed, which is really awesome, is we do some virtual reality videos. So we actually have some Oculus headsets and things like that, and we have a 360 camera along with a GoPro. So we actually we are in the process of creating like a virtual library, and it's just all different kind of experiences. So we have some videos that I've actually been working on editing right now from Deerbergs and things like that, like a walkthrough of the grocery store and kind of finding different supplies. So that is something that's kind of in the works, but we do have some videos already created.
A lot of the requirements that are required for launch are the same as Next Ed. The only thing that's really the biggest difference is the age is 18 to 30 instead of 16 to 30. And currently, right now, we only have funding for St. Louis County and St. Louis City for Next Ed. Again, at the end of our presentation, we will have a QR code that you can scan and fill out that questionnaire, and that'll be the best way to determine if you are eligible for the program or not. It also helps us just connect with you as well to see how we can help.
Hello, I'm Thea Sinclair. I'm the Assistant Coordinator of Transition Services, which means I do a little bit in all of the programs. So I do, some one-on-one sessions and teach classes for lunch, but I also primarily work with Next Ed. And then I also run the Bounce Forward program. It is a series of like it's every month, free social event for individuals ages 16 to 30. These are a great opportunity for young adults to get together and network and connect with peers, whether they're just looking for friends or a potential roommate, or just other people who are in that transition age. These events are held at different times throughout the year to help promote casual conversations and opportunities to meet others with similar interests. We've done some really cool events. We have gone to the planetarium. We've gone to Grants Farm. This month is volunteer month. So we are volunteering with Seed St. Louis in one of their community gardens, which I'm very much looking forward to. We also do movie nights, game nights, just different things each month that our participants can get together and make friends. Yeah.
Thank you, Thea. I will say one of my favorite events that we do with Bounce Forward is in October. We go to the Legends and Lanterns Festival off of Fifth Street. Is it Main? It's Main Street, St. Charles.
Yes.
Is where we go to. And if you're not familiarized with that, they actually have actors who dress up in famous like character villains. And you get to go and interact with the characters. It's literally one of my favorite ones to go to. So I always volunteer to be one of the staff to attend that one. Bounce Forward is a little bit different because these are social events that we host once a month. We usually advertise those a month out. So it's usually 3 to 4 weeks that we give people to know what the next month's event will be and to get registered for those. The easiest way to keep up with Bounce Forward is you can actually find us on Facebook. We do have a Bounce Forward Facebook group that you can connect with, but our events are also shared with the newsletter and those kind of things. There'll be an email at the end that you can connect with us if you want more information about Bounce Forward. And then I'll also follow up with having that information sent out as well. All right, so to get started in this, we're going to have our first thing. So when me and the team met, we kind of talked about how we wanted to approach this. And transition to adulthood looks different for everybody. No one takes the same path from teen to young adult, and it all looks so different and is so unique to each individual. So it was really hard for us to say, like, man, where do we even start with creating a workshop, right? How do we want to approach this? And so what we looked at is through our experiences of helping young adults take that next step in their lives, we looked at areas that could be a challenge. And what are some of the, and we wanted to think about like, what are some of those advice that we could give to young adults, to family members, to maybe even somebody who is supporting a young adult with taking that next step? What are some of the things that we can provide or do or help with? Now, I will say that these are all things that we are just recommending. There's not a one fix all approach to this. So some of the things that we are going to share may or may not work for you. But the one thing I will say is patience is key. So please be patient through the process. And then the other thing is just be open-minded. Maybe it might work, maybe it won't, but you never know until you try it. So we do recommend that, really think about and process it and see if it's something that you are even willing to try to take that next step. But again, like I said, we just wanted to approach this in kind of a way of what we've experienced and some of the things that we've helped when it was that challenging moment of taking that next step. But please just know that some of these things are very good, helpful tools and strategies to take that next step. So our first one that we came up with, we kind of broke this down into 5 categories. And the first one is social interaction. And our first question with this one is what, and I'm going to ask the panelist, and I'm going to let the panelists kind of go on this after I ask it. So why do you feel it is important for young adults to practice social interactions as they transition from teen to young adult?
I'll jump right in. So, it's very hard a lot of times to think about social interactions from teen to young adult because a lot of teens are in high school, right? So you have that built-in kind of community already with friends at high school. You see them every day. But I also want to say, like, this is a time to kind of explore, right? So if we don't go out and we don't really explore some social interactions or explore different hobbies or anything like that, we might not really know what we like. So I guess for my best advice for this one is why it's so important for young adults to practice social interactions is really because it's so easy also to get lost in the time, right? So you can find yourself being maybe a little self-isolated or things like that after high school ends. I know I've seen that a lot where it's just easier to stay in a room than it is to go out and explore and meet other people. And a lot of times it just takes that little bit of courage to kind of go out and try. But again, like I said, this is a time for young adults to really kind of find out what we do like, right? I know when I was a teen going into college and things like that, there's a lot of different things that I didn't know I would like until you kind of go and you give it a try. And you can meet some other people and meet some new friends, and it just kind of is a broad spectrum to kind of punch yourself out there.
I was just going to add the more that you practice, the more comfortable you will feel with it. And that goes, pretty much with anything, but the more you practice, the more routine it'll feel, the more comfortable you'll feel with it.
I was going to say a part of adult friendships is making plans. Like you have to know your schedule. So it involves time management and all of those fun independent living skills while also being social interaction.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think when you do social interactions, we want to practice those in conversations and interactions that we enjoy because sometimes those social interactions that we have to do in life are not so fun. And so it makes it a little bit easier when you are used to having fun interactions with others. So when it comes to those harder ones, you have a little bit experience to go on when you have those little bit more of a tougher interactions to do with people. Which set of skills are useful for our social interactions?
JR had mentioned that sometimes social interactions aren't always fun, but no matter the case, interactions and building that skill set is so important because social interactions happen with our friends, our family, our neighbors, people at the grocery store or the library, pretty much anywhere you go. I kind of narrowed down to 5 important skills to kind of help you with social interactions. The first one, communication. Having good, solid, clear communication, which would include verbal communication, so the use of your words, nonverbal communication, that body language, active listening skills to really listen with intent and understanding. Communication skills are just really important and helps to build rapport with others. And it also helps you assist with problem solving. Another skill set is boundaries. So being able to identify your needs and your limits, setting boundaries with other people, as well as understanding and respecting other boundaries. Flexibility is another big one. So respecting other people's schedules and life. A lot of people are on different schedules, different work schedules, school schedules, activities. Being open to change is a big part of flexibility, and maybe even doing activities that you may not like or don't interest you so much, but your friends or your family are interested in them. And then also maintaining a connection, even under busy circumstances. Life gets busy, but if you want to maintain those friendships and those connections with other people, it's really important to find the time to keep maintaining those connections. Another skill set is empathy, being able to understand and acknowledge other people's feelings, whether they're feeling sad, happy, mad, and avoiding judgment. And then the last one, conflict resolution. So having an understanding of how to work out problems or issues that arise in an appropriate and healthy manner. So for example, if you and your friend want to go to the movies together, but you want to see different films, you have to figure out what are you going to do? Because if you want to go together, then you have to kind of come up with some kind of plan or mutual agreement. Another example is if you disagree with a friend's view of a political matter, you may have to use those conflict resolution skills to figure out how you're going to resolve that issue as well.
What are some of the ways someone could practice using these social skills? And I want you guys to kind of approach this when you answer this, just to kind of keep in mind of if somebody is looking for social events that may not just focus in on certain areas, like if they are a gamer and they want to kind of move on past that gaming situation. So just to kind of hint at one of the questions.
When it comes to practicing social skills, a big one would be that practice of small talk. With our coworkers, our neighbors, people at a party or an event that we go to, initiating those conversations. And they can be on topics like the weather, a local sports team, or even questions related to that event or that activity that you're in. So simply asking someone how they're liking the warm weather, if it's been sunny and warm the past couple of days, just to get that conversation initiated with the other person. Asking a coworker or neighbor how their day is going. Again, initiating that conversation, starting that conversation with someone, or asking someone how did they find out about the event that you're at, because you have that connection. You're both at that event together. So making that small talk, just simply asking them how they found out about the event or how they know the host of the party. And then the second thing I would say is to really go out of your comfort zone, join group activities, social events, even if you're not terribly familiar with them or don't know the people there, just getting out there, meeting new people. And I think we're even going to talk about some different places and some different events that you can try out.
I also think, like, and I think you mentioned this, but everywhere and anywhere you can practice social skills.
Yeah.
So like even this one is one of the ones where it's like I always talk about the how's your day? Fine. Like, nope, that's an opportunity to socially interact. So really explain how your day's going and maybe do a follow-up question to see how other ones encourage them to ask how your day is going, right? So there can be a conversation or even start. This is for parents. Instead of just going right in and asking their day, be like, oh, my day was, and kind of give them an example of what the answer you're looking for is. So kind of explain your day. You're going to get some eye rolling and you're going to get some people like, oh, but leading by the example of how this is how the conversation should go is always helpful. What advice would you give a young adult to form and or maintain friendships?
Really embracing the vulnerability of, you know, you're meeting new people. It's going to feel a little awkward. Um, still meeting new people and I still feel awkward, but it doesn't mean that it won't be good, right? So just embrace that it is just going to be a little scary, but you can do hard things. And also I would recommend going to like something that you can find people with mutual interests, right? Whether that's signing up for a kickball league, or going to a pottery class, or a meetup group, or coming to a Bounce Forward event. Those are just great opportunities to make friends because you already have something to talk about, which is the activity that you're doing. So it can make starting a conversation feel less scary because you already have something in common to talk about.
Don't be afraid to be yourself and to put yourself out there. With your friends, with your family, not everybody's going to have the same interests. So you don't have to pretend to like everything somebody else does. Be yourself.
No, I
Absolutely.
was just gonna kind of say that same thing about being yourself, but also when it comes to maintaining friendships, I feel like that's such a difficult thing after high school. Because again, if you don't see them every day, so again, like finding ways to reach out to them, right? Finding ways that if they were your friends in high school and maybe if you did do some activities, like try to keep those activities going even after, unless if you move somewhere different, like, we have more options in virtual technology than ever before, whether it is, you can still, talk to a friend over Zoom for an hour. I think Zoom's free for up to an hour still. You have different services that you can reach out, FaceTime and things like that, even if in different locations. So like that maintaining friendship piece is still kind of that point yourself out there to talk to old friends. I know I've talked to many young adults who are like, oh, well, I haven't reached out to them. They haven't reached out to me anymore. So now it's just awkward and I don't want to do it. So again, it's that 20 seconds of vulnerability where it's like send them a text message and see what they're doing if they were an old friend. See if you can get the ball rolling.
Don't wait around for someone to do something that you want to do. Like, so if you want them to contact you, then you have to be the one to do it because people are not mind readers. And unfortunately, they don't know what we're thinking and how much we want to talk to them. So just being like, knowing that, like, hey, I need to take some ownership, or being like, I want to talk to them, so I'm going to reach out, can be like a good mindset to get in.
The one thing I add on this one is 20 seconds of bravery. Take that 20 seconds and that if you want to meet somebody or you want to talk to somebody, take that 20 seconds of bravery to start that forming that friendship. It doesn't happen. But in the maintaining part, this is where boundaries comes in. Um, and this is where friendships are challenging because you do have to be able to respect other people's boundaries as well. So I always say, think of it in 20 seconds, 20-second intervals, right? Like, hey, I have 20 seconds to go greet this person and say I want to be like I want to know them or I want to introduce myself to them. Same thing with like calling them or messaging them. Yes, reach out to them. But if they are not responding back to you, have that conversation and understand that, you know what? You want to have a friendship that does also have that 20 seconds of bravery for you, right?
Mutual.
And it's
Yeah.
mutual. And so you just want to make sure that the boundaries match when it comes to that friendship. And make sure that we're having those conversations. I always like to set a rule I have my 20 seconds of bravery rule, and then I have like my two and done rule. Like, so I get a message two times or call two times, and if I don't get a response back within those two times, then I have to wait for a response. Um, so just kind of set rules for yourself that you feel comfortable with. So this is the last one. We kind of talked about this a little bit throughout our responses, but where can a young adult go to meet others to socialize with?
Well, to start, Bounce Board is great. I have to, self-promote. There are so many different ways you can meet others, right? Whether I've, made friends at meetup events. There's a lot of different like if someone is into board games or like Magic the Gathering, different shops host events, you know, throughout the week. So there's, stuff. St. Louis is really great because there's always something going on. There are definitely a lot of options that they have that they can meet others. There's also the leisure department has a lot of different leisure activities. Whether if they're interested in sports, you can join sports leagues or bowling. But they also have fun things like they have cooking classes, music classes. I would definitely, check into the leisure department because they have a lot to offer too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of places that you can go and meet people. I always say find something that you're interested in, um, and go to those. If it's a fun class that you can do, um, or looking at different leisure programs that are out there, or even I always say, like, yeah, our programs are focused in on taking that next step, but there's a lot of opportunities to socialize and connect while you are learning those skills. So even if you already know those skills, or you just need to enhance those skills, there's still opportunities to practice socializing and meeting others within our programs. The team does a great job of also Sarah kind of leads the drive in this one where even when you are in our program, there's actually bonus opportunities to socialize and those kind of things. So she hosts different events to be able to practice those social skills. So take those opportunities to get out there, even if it's something that you feel like you already know how to do. If you already know how to do it, then you can kind of focus more on making those connections because you're comfortable with the topic that's already being talked about. So a lot of our questions were coming on to those social connections, but then also communications. We thought communications was a big one because this is a time where you are going to be taking more ownership of your communication and taking that next steps. So, the first question we had prepared was where and how can a young adult practice communication skills? This kind of relates to the last question we just had.
Yeah, I'll touch briefly on this because it does kind of fit in with that. Where can a young adult practice communication skills? Literally anywhere. I mean, from your neighbors, everybody has neighbors of some sort, to somebody at work, school, the post office, the library, wherever you're at, is a time to practice communication skills. That's small talk. You don't have to get into anything deep and personable, but using those small talk topics like the weather and local sports teams or just anything light and common. And then make sure you're, trying to display good body language. I know we had talked about for some that's a little bit difficult, but also just actively listening and thoroughly listening to what that other person is saying, and making good eye contacts, just being in the moment of that conversation.
How can a young adult practice engaging with others, even if it is a topic you don't enjoy?
We've all been in conversations when it's a topic we're not interested in. Like we don't have the same enjoyment. So, my little trick is that I try to find a question I can ask them about their topic, whether it's like, how did you get interested in this? Or, what does this, help you learn? different types of things like, or what does it teach you? Or learn from it. Basically, same sentence. Just asking more in-depth questions and making it like a little bit being like more about them can help me to get to know them more. Even if it's, on something that I'm not super interested in.
I'll jump onto that a little bit, Thea, because I 100% agree, right? It's asking those questions to get a little bit more depth about even the individual. Because even finding to meet someone, right, we might have different interests and stuff, but how we get to like our interest, it could have came from family, it could have came from friends or different experiences that you have. And it's a lot easier to learn how to put yourself in someone else's shoes by asking those questions and seeing someone else's perspective, even if it's on a topic that you might not enjoy or even like. It can really help us out a little, like later on in life when there's not always those topics or, you know, people and things like that of communication that we're like, ooh, I totally disagree with this person. But at being able to ask those questions in a respectful way to where maybe you can see the perspective of someone else is a skill that is really going to help you farther down the road. And it can be at work, it could be kind of anywhere, and it can kind of also help us with that even regulating some of our emotions when we do get into some more of those personal or heated topics and things.
What do you recommend for young adults to communicate safely with others?
Boundaries. Um,
Boundaries is going to be a huge one. I think also have preset values, you know.
ooh, yeah,
So understand like how you want to be spoken to and treated, and understand because you have your values, other people have their values too,
yeah,
and you need to be able to be respectful of each other.
absolutely. I would also say, um, practice not oversharing. Um, because when we first meet people and we're starting to make friends, they don't need to know everything about us, right? We've just
Mhm.
met them, they don't need to know where we live. That type of thing. Um, so practicing that of like what questions are appropriate for the stage of friendship that we're in, because the questions we ask or the things we'll disclose about ourselves will get deeper as we move along. It's just the beginning stage is like we want to make sure that we're being safe with the information that we share.
Mhm.
What?
Also, think about the individual that you are speaking to, right? Like if I'm speaking to a stranger at the grocery store, they don't need to know my whole background story if I'm just trying to find where the ground beef is. So it's trying to kind of stay on those topics. I know Sarah, I was gonna piggyback a little bit on Sarah. That's what I do. When it comes to like those topics of small talk, right? And making sure that you are keeping it within those kind of set topics that are appropriate for who you're talking to and what you're talking about.
Very modern age of technology, and a lot of communication happens face to face, but I know a lot of young adults and just people in general communicate a lot online, whether it be through systems like Discord or on their gaming system. Just remember, people aren't always who they say they are. Cameras aren't always on them. So again, just be careful who you're talking to. Like Thea said, avoid overly sharing, giving out details they don't need to know.
Also, understanding that you can always walk away or turn
Yes.
off or anything like that too.
You can
I know
always
you
leave a situation if you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even with gaming, right? There's always options that you can mute anybody and everybody and things like that, or you can leave that game. Like if you're playing
Yep.
Call of Duty, you can leave that room. You can go find another one if it's a kind of a toxic environment.
So another thing, I'll just kind of go off of this. In our programs, we talk about self-awareness a lot, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in our presentation as well. But we do a lot of learning on self-awareness and how it makes us feel. So, what are those triggers inside of us that says, "Ooh, I'm not comfortable,"
Mhm.
and really picking on how that feels in our body, because that feels different for everybody as well. And so it's kind of processing and thinking about how that feels. I know I've had conversations with people that I've supported, and it's that question, but how does that feel? And they look at me like I have three heads and don't want to talk about how they feel. But the thing is it's because when you're feeling uncomfortable, you want to remember that feeling, so then oh, something's not right here, and learn what that self-awareness is. The other thing that we've done in programs in the past, and I've seen that, is the circle of relationships as well. So like, where does this person fit in my circle of no, are they acquaintance? Are they just a friend? Are they a close family member? Because just knowing where they fit in that circle can also know how much trust you should have with them with oversharing or not sharing and those kind of things. So that's, again, a lot of this is going to be coming up with is not only talking about boundaries, but practicing those boundaries, practicing where those stop signs need to be put in. And a lot of this we do within program with experiencing it and learning it as we go with a group, or having those one-on-one coaching sessions where we practice and go over those within launch. What do you think would help young adults to better understand information they receive or they are receiving?
My first, when I'm like not understanding something, is to ask clarification questions, being like, this is what I heard. Is this what, you know, is this what you're meaning? Or, can you show me exactly what you want me to do? Or, is there different ways that you can reword the sentence? So just asking questions and advocating for ourselves can do a whole lot.
Yeah, this is definitely going to circle back to those active listening skills, and being present in the moment to fully understand or try to fully understand. Like Thea said, asking those clarification questions. A big thing for all of us is putting away those distractions. So if you're having a conversation with someone, set your phone aside or put it in your pocket so you're not tempted to scroll through it while you're having a conversation with someone. Turn your TV down, whatever the distraction may be, try to limit those distractions from the conversation itself. A lot of people often get nervous to ask questions, whether it be to a friend or to a manager or coworker. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Yep. If you don't understand it, there's nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, I'm not understanding.
Yes.
Can you tell me that in another way?" Again, on this one is, for anybody who is working with a young adult, patience. Be patient, give time to process. And as a young adult, if you need more time to process, take that time. Take your time with the conversation. I know this is easier said than done, because it does take a lot of time to learn to not rush into things. It took me almost most of my life to figure out that, because I would be the impulsive one just to say yes or no, or nod my head. So it takes work and it takes process, but um, if you need to take that time to process, sit back, relax, and let them know that you're thinking about it. Um, I think we do this very well in the one-on-one sessions in launch and next ed, is to practice when we're not understanding how do we approach that situation and how do we ask those questions. But practice, 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 practice. What are some of the things young adults need to learn to be effective communicators?
I'll tackle this one. So when it comes to being an effective communicator, we always think of communication as talking, 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 right? where a lot more learning how to be an effective communicator would come from listening. So really mastering those active listening. And when I mean active listening, again, asking questions, right? Sometimes we're so often, if someone's talking, I'm like, oh, how am I going to respond? What am I going to think about? What am I going to say? That we're not actually listening to the person that's speaking. We're hearing them, we know they're saying stuff, but we're ready to jump into that conversation to finish our thought or anything like that. So being present, and sometimes it is taking that step back and really listening and trying to be engaged with what they are saying. And again, asking those questions. You will learn so much more by being the person asking questions to someone than what you are when you are the one telling people things.
Listening is one of the biggest ones. I also always tell young adults to know what type of question is being asked. So there's different types of questions. There's closed-ended questions where it could be answered with a yes or no, or one word. And then there's open-ended questions, where they need more than just one word. So know that you're answering the questions correctly. Just a hint, how was your day is not a closed-ended question. That's an open-ended question. So but yeah, so know what type of questions going to be asked and practice those questions within normal conversation. Um, and then the other thing that I always say is if you need that more time or in that active listening, repeat back the details. So like if you're trying to learn somebody's name, repeat their name back when they introduce themselves. If it is your family member telling you, hey, can you go do this? Repeat back, oh, you want me to do this, right? And just repeat back that information to them because then they know that you're receiving it. This could go with a lot of people when it goes, but just repeat back that important information because it just confirms that you have it. It also can give you that time if you need more time to think what you want to say. Oh, you want, and then you can kind of process what you're wanting to say after following up so the conversation can keep flowing. Again, that takes a lot of practice, so you don't sound like a parrot just repeating back word for word. But you want to just focus in on those details. So again, with communication, a lot of this is going to be practice, practice, practice. And even if it's with just a family member you're comfortable with, that's a start. It needs to start somewhere and then it can expand out.